Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today we're going to talk about different reasons on why extraterrestrials came to this planet in the first place. And I have a list of 10 different things. We're going to go through that list one by one. But actually, I'll go through the list right off the bat here, tell you what the list is, and we're going to talk about a little bit about each possible reason. And then I'm going to tell you at the end of this what I think the reason really is. Okay, one of the reasons could be scientific curiosity, exploration. Another reason could be they're just resource gathering. Another reason could be for genetics or biological interest. Another reason, number 4, surveillance and control, or which is also known as the zoo hypothesis. Another reason could be the non-interference prime directive idea that they found our planet, but they're not going to do anything with us because just like in Star Trek, they have a prime directive where they cannot interfere. So maybe that's what it's all about, and that's why they're so secretive. Number 6, cultural or spiritual reasons. Number 7, defense/strategic reasons. Number 8, simulation experiment hypothesis. Number 9, colonization/expansion. And then number 10, slavery/control. Okay, I want to go through these different reasons, possible reasons of why these beings are here. Now, here's the thing. We know that they're here, right? We actually have absolute proof now that shows that we're definitely, no question about it, we are definitely not alone, right? And so the first one we want to talk about here is the scientific curiosity exploration possibility, right? Just as, we send out probes to Mars or other places, to the moon, wherever, an advanced civilization, they might be doing the same kind of thing. That's all it is. They're just exploring the galaxy, perhaps other galaxies, perhaps the universe, and they're just interested in advancing their scientific knowledge, and that's the whole purpose of why they are here. That could be one of the reasons. So I would say that seems reasonable. Maybe it is. Maybe it is the case with some of the beings that have come to this planet over the centuries, right? It could be. I mean, that could be one of the reasons, that they just have a curiosity, and it's all just about science and advancing their knowledge. Another one could be resource gathering. Maybe they're Earth is very rich in water and minerals, right? Things like that. There's a lot of biological diversity, and so I would have to imagine that if you're a planet that maybe is lacking in these kinds of things, maybe that's why they're here. They're just stealing some of our resources and taking it back home with them. That could be a possibility. That's something that people have talked about over the years. And maybe traveling through space, it could be a very expensive ordeal. Maybe it takes a lot, and that's maybe one of the reasons they're here. This is just a stop-off point to gather raw materials so they could keep moving on. I mean, they just probably run out of whatever the resources that got them here, and maybe they need to collect more resources in an effort to keep moving on. Maybe that's what it is. Who knows? Could be in some cases. Another thing could be the genetics or biological interest. I mean, this seems to be the case, right, in some instances here. If you think about the hybridization program, maybe that's what it's about. Maybe they're just basically mining our genetics. They need our genetics in an effort to maybe help themselves. Maybe there's something wrong with them, and that's explains this hybridization program. Maybe that's what it's all about. Could be. Maybe that would be a nice little simple explanation for the hybridization program, alleged. I mean, it could be. Another possibility is the surveillance and control possibility, or zoo hypothesis. This was something that was proposed in the 1970s by John Ball, that we might be. He said that the Earth might be under some sort of a cosmic quarantine, right? And basically, these beings, they could be just observing us the same way that we observe wildlife, right? The way we manage wildlife, right? Well, watching us, but they're not interfering with us openly. That could be what's going on here too. Only sometimes, right? When nobody else is around, or when they do interfere with us, they make sure that they don't remember it. Just the way we try to, similarly to the way we treat animals. But they do it a little bit. They do it differently, obviously, right? They make people forget about what happened. That's what they try to do, because they don't want us to even know that they're here. That's what it seems like, right? The next one on the list here is non-interference, or the prime directive idea. Of course, this is the Star Trek concept where an advanced civilization finds another civilization that's not as advanced, but they don't want to interfere, and maybe that's what happened. Maybe they were just found us by accident, and basically it's just a flyby. They not now they're the reason that they try not to interfere with us, the reason why they don't have any sort of open contact, the reason why they're so secretive, because they don't want to disrupt our natural evolution. They don't want us to know that they exist, because that would go against the prime directive. The prime directive means everything needs to be hush hush, and you can't let anyone know that you exist. You need them to. You have to allow this civilization to figure things out for themselves. That could be what it is too. Maybe they just found us by accident. It was just a flyby, and now it's too late. But they are interested. I mean, this actually you could combine this one with the first one, right? The scientific curiosity, exploration. These two things could be actually working hand in hand. The next one I have on the list here is cultural or spiritual reasons. This is, some theories that they suggest that extraterrestrials might have influenced mythology and religion. Some people say that maybe this is religion, and all these myths that we have up to this point was somehow influenced by these extraterrestrials in the long past. I mean, they might be interested in our cultural or moral development, and maybe these visits, they're just periodic visits, and they're just here to guide us or to observe us. Maybe that's what's happening. Who knows? It's a possibility. Another possible reason why they're here is for defense or strategic reasons. I mean, this planet could be operate as a base for them in a grander scale that we just don't even understand or realize, right? If maybe Earth is on some galactic trade route or something, right? Or it could be near something that's important strategically. I mean, that's always possible, right? I mean, obviously, these beings are interested in our nuclear capabilities. I mean, how many different stories have we heard of these UFOs showing up over nuclear missile silos and nuclear power plants? It seems like there's a lot of activity with UFO activity in those areas. They could be concerned about that. I mean, they could be watching us. It could be twofold here. It could be that they're using our planet as some sort of a place as a base, right? And at the same time, they're concerned about it. At the same time, look at what they're doing here with these nuclear bombs and stuff. I mean, this base will be useless if they have a nuclear war, right? I mean, that could be a concern for them. And then another one that I have on the list here is the possibility that the whole thing is one big simulation, right? That we're part of an experiment here. And really, everything, none of this is real. It's like we're in the Matrix right now, and we're just imagining this. We think this is, we're being forced to imagine it. None of this stuff is real around us. That's what some people say. I don't think that's the case, but that's what some people think. And maybe these UFOs are just like maintenance that we see, similarly to the Matrix movies. Maybe that's what it's all about. But I don't buy that one, quite honestly. The ones I do believe, the possibilities that I do subscribe to, is the possibility that it's all about colonization or expansion. In fact, that's what the United States Air Force used to think back in the day. Back in the late 1940s, early 1950s, a lot of people in the United States Air Force actually privately believed that that's what this was, that they were that planet Earth was being used as a host for extraterrestrial visitors. That's what some people were thinking back then, and that could be the case. I mean, sometimes your first thought is the correct one. Your first idea of what might be happening in a certain situation, sometimes it's the correct one. And I think that the Air Force may be right. Now, nobody in the Air Force has ever stepped forward and said this publicly and made and offered this as this is the reason. No. What I'm saying is that they talked about this privately. We know this because in books like this, Flying Saucers from Outer Space by Donald Kehoe, who was a retired major from the United States Marine Corps, he had a lot of inside information, and he was the very first big-time UFO investigator. He wrote books like this, Flying Saucers from Outer Space. This was from 1953, and in this book, he lays it all out. I mean, that's what they were thinking behind the scenes. There were people in the Air Force that really believed that what's going on here is that that planet Earth is basically a place for these alien visitors to call their new home. Because apparently they believe that it's possible that the planet that they came from is dying, and they needed to find a new place to live, and that's what the concern is, and that's why they're here. Actually, that's that possibility. And then the next one here is the final one is slavery or control. Maybe that's what it's all about. maybe human beings are being viewed as a resource to these creatures, right? And we're at some point we're going to be just slaves to these beings at some point in the future. Maybe that's the big change that's coming. That's talked about by researchers like David M. Jacobs. He's someone who did research on alien abduction. Talked with. Actually hypnotized well over 1,000 different alleged alien abductees, and he came to the conclusion that what's going on here, there's a group of alien creatures that are actively trying to take over this planet, but it's taking a long time. They're doing it through this hybridization program over this slow, basically takeover from the inside out. Basically, what the plan here, apparently, according to Jacobs, is that this hybridization program, which involves taking sperm from males, eggs from females, and mixing it in with alien DNA, and then planting these hybrid creatures all around us that look just like humans, but they're not. They're part alien. Sprinkle them all throughout the globe, and then eventually, at some point in the future, they'll be activated for some purpose that involves these beings taking over the planet. Jacobs actually believes that the creature at the top of the hierarchy here is these insectoid, the ones that look like praying mantises. They're the ones in charge. The gray aliens, the short and tall ones, they might be biological robots for all anybody knows, but they're apparently they're like slaves, as well as apparently the reptilians are too, and the ones in charge of these praying mantises ones, and they're going to be the ones calling all the shots at some point in the future, according to David M. Jacobs. That seems like a reasonable explanation to me for everything that's going on. I mean, it explains the alien abduction program, which tens of thousands of people apparently over the decades have reported getting abducted by aliens, and all their stories seem to jibe. They all line up with each other. It's always very similar situations. The creatures that they describe always seem to look the same, right? We've been talking about some of these creatures in recent episodes, like in the Turkey UFO videos. Those beings that we see in those videos, they look like the beings that have been described by people who are alien abductees, right? And then the same goes with the Vegas videos, and now this new Compton, California alien. We've been talking about that. They look very similar, these beings, to the descriptions provided by people who said they were abducted. So that could be what's going on here, and that's what I think is happening. I think it's possible, right, that we were under surveillance for centuries. Who knows how long? I don't know. There have been UFO reports, like I've been talking about recently in the past, before 1947, before this thing started up big time, right? So there's been stuff in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, but really nothing really major until the 1947. That's when this exploded. UFO sightings exploded in 1947. And it seems like they showed up in force at that time. Maybe, some people, including myself, point to the atomic bombs that we used in 1945 as the apparent reason why they showed up in force in 1947. That could be the case, or it could be a coincidence. Who knows, right? But whatever the case, maybe they were here for a long time, and they were planning at some point in the future to take this planet over. Maybe what happened in 1945 when we start using atomic bombs, they're like, we need to make this plan go faster. Maybe they weren't planning on coming here in force until some point later on. Maybe they're just taking their good old time. But then when we start using atomic bombs, they start thinking to themselves, oh, you know what, this civilization's way ahead of where we thought they would be at this point. So we need to start taking over now. Right, and their takeover plan isn't the way we would imagine it would be done, right? With explosions and bombs and bullets, right? No, that's not how they're going to do it. Maybe they're because they're more advanced, they probably frown upon that kind of thing, violence, right? They don't think that's the right way to do it, or maybe they operate under some sort of a galactic federation law where they're not allowed to do that, but maybe they're allowed to do other things where they can covertly take us over without us even knowing it over a long period of time. And maybe that's what's happening here. That could be what's going on. They're slowly absorbing humankind, and it's going to take who knows how long. Nobody could say. I don't know. I'm sure. How communities have 5-year plans. Like say you're living in some city, and the city manager and the council, they meet for a meeting, and they have they're discussing their 5-year plan about all their goals that they're going to try to accomplish over over the next 5 years, right? That maybe aliens have like 500-year plans, or 5,000-year plans, or 10,000-year plans, or 100,000-year plans. Maybe that's what this is. Right now we're seeing, we're in the maybe the very early stages or middle stages or whatever of their long-term plan to take over this planet. And they can't do it right this minute for some reason. Maybe they just don't have all the all their forces here that they need. But whatever the case, right? I think that they're what if this is real, if this hypothesis is true, what's happening here is that they're slowly taking us over many decades via this hybridization program. They have all these inside spies all around us, probably trying to figure out how we tick and why we think the way we think. Maybe that's the purpose, to understand us better, and then once they understand us better, then they make their move, whatever that move's going to be. I don't know. I mean, is it going to be an announcement that, oh yeah, and you're going to see an insectoid alien on your TV screen telling you, hey, guess what, folks? Party's over. We're taking over from this point on. None of your leaders they're no longer in charge. In fact, they're gone. We're in charge now. I don't know if that's how it's going to be. I don't think so. I think it's going to be more covert. It's going to take time. You're not even going to know it. The human race might not even realize that it's happened to them, because maybe at some point in time the people that are in charge are actually the beings themselves. Maybe they work themselves into our system. Maybe some of them are there right now, and at some point in the future we don't even realize it. We think they're just regular old people, right? But maybe they're not. If they look just like human beings, these hybrids, how could you tell one from the other, one person from the other? You'd have to do a DNA test on them, and then even then you might not know if you're getting the correct answer or not, because how do you know who's telling you the truth and what's not the truth anymore? I mean, it would be chaos. It would be chaos. It's a dire thought, but it could be what's happening here. Maybe what happened, maybe these beings, right, the Greys and the reptilians and the insectoids, maybe they were hired. Maybe they were contracted out by the Galactic Federation after we start using atomic bombs, and they said, okay, you know what, I guess we're going to have to do something about this. These people are problems. Look, they don't get along with each other, obviously. Look, they're killing each other all the time. I mean, they can't even live together. This race of beings can't even live together. I mean, look at the racism and everything else. You think they're going to accept us? No way. So we're going to have to get rid of them. We want this planet anyway because our planet's dying, so we need to kick these people off. We'll just do it over a slow course of time, and we'll hire the insectoids and their gang to handle this operation. Maybe that's what it's all about. But the bottom line is, it's about something, right? Because there's something here, as we talk about all the time on this show. There is something here, and you've seen the proof now. There's evidence out there that shows that we're not alone. And you have to wonder, what are they doing here? What is the purpose? We really can't say. You can only imagine. But based on some of the data that has been amassed to this point, I mean, I think you could say that this is some sort of a slow takeover by these beings. Hence the reason why, another reason why the government doesn't want to talk about this. Of course, like I've always stated in the past, I believe the top reason that militaries of the world don't admit to the reality that they know that there's something else here with us, right? Another intelligence, a higher intelligence, a more advanced race of beings. They know that they're here. They can't admit that because their biggest concern is recovering the crashed UFOs and trying to reverse engineer them. That's what they want to do, because they believe there's nothing we can do about these beings that are here, but at least the very least we can do is try to reverse engineer these craft, and maybe we could use it against our enemies, and maybe we could use it to fight these beings that are here, but we can't tell the public about this. Who knows how they'll react? But I think that's the biggest reason, the reverse engineering aspects. And then there are other secondary concerns. Of course, they have to admit to the alien abductions. They don't want to do that. The second you disclose this, then all of a sudden all these people over the decades that have been talking about the fact that they were abducted by aliens, all of a sudden people who didn't believe it before, they're going to start believing it. They're going to realize, oh, I guess that was true. I didn't believe it. I couldn't make myself believe it. But now the government's telling me that there are alien creatures here and that it is real. So that must mean that those alien abductions are true. See how it works? And then, of course, you have the cattle mutilations. Apparently, they're doing that for some reason. I think it's for food. I think that they're these insect-like creatures. They're very similar to the insect creatures that we have on our planet, and just like some insects on our planet feed on blood, right? That's what I think that these things are doing. I think that the cattle mutilations is related to that, and that they're using it for food. And who knows why they're cutting the parts off, some of the parts off these animals surgically using laser precision surgery. I don't have no idea what that's about. Maybe they use that stuff as a snack. Maybe they like chewing on cow jaw bones or something. Who knows, right? Maybe that's something that they like to do. I don't know. Maybe they like chewing on cow eyeballs. Sometimes there's cow eyeballs removed surgically. Maybe that's something like a delicacy to these creatures. I don't know, but I think that's what it is. I think that they live off blood, just like some insects on our planet, and that explains the cattle mutilation. It's probably the best explanation there is, actually, when you really think about it. What else could it be? I mean, seriously. I think that's what it probably is. And with the secondary possibility with that is that they're using that toward their hybridization program. So either A or B, one or the other, right? It doesn't seem too savory if you're a human being to think that that's what it possibly is. Right? But that's what they're here. They're here, in my view, at least that group, seems like they work together, right? Seems like most of the alien abduction encounters involve creatures that look like the greys, the short and tall, reptilian and insectoid. That seems to be the ones that are involved in these abductions, and it seems like it's been going on for many decades now. I've heard stories that there have been abductions, like for instance in the 1920s, things like that. They're very, very sporadic. Not that many. You don't hear that many from before the late 40s, right? After the late 40s, you start hearing more stories about alien abduction, and it really start picking up in the 70s and 80s, right? 90s. And so I think that they were focused, that there was a heavy abduction period at that time. They were really trying to their program was moving forward at full speed ahead, it seems, right? And obviously the purpose is to create these hybrid creatures, spread them out over the planet. At some point, they're going to be activated, and who knows how they're going to be used against us and in service to those the ones who created them. And who knows? There could be other beings above the insectoids that we don't even know about. Maybe they're not even here, for all we know. For all we know, everything that's here, right, could be biological robot creations that were created by some other intelligence from some other planet, and they sent them here to do a job, and that's all it is. They're aliens, right? They're created by aliens, but maybe they were genetically engineered creatures that we're dealing with here, that were created by somebody else. That's also another possibility. But I think the fact that they're so secretive like this, the way they've been, the fact that they still haven't really ever made an announcement, say, hey, well, we're from the planet Zeta Reticulus, we're from the Zeta Reticuli star system, and we're here to greet all you people and let you know that you're not alone in the universe, right? They never did anything like that. Obviously, they don't think we're ready for it. Obviously, they don't want to tell us for some reason. Obviously, they have other plans, and everything's a big secret when it comes to these guys. I know some people out there think that they're here for good purposes, and maybe there are. Maybe there are some species out here that just are interested in us. They just have a scientific interest, and that's it, and they come here, and then they go on their merry way. But these other ones seem to be here a long time now. They've pretty much overstayed their welcome, and people still see them. And we've seen them just recently. We see videos of them pop up here and there now. We've seen them in 2023 when they landed in the backyard in Las Vegas for some reason. We see them potentially. I'm not saying the Vegas case to me that's guaranteed as far as I'm concerned. There's no debunking that one. The Compton alien one, that's maybe 90% at this point. I can't say with 100% certainty that that's an alien creature, but I think it is. I think it probably is. I don't see what else it could have been. So, and there's a lot of strange things that, involving that incident as well. And then, of course, the Turkey UFO videos. How could you say that they're not? It's alien. That's what it is. Let's just be clear here. That's what we're dealing with here. Just like we see in these videos now, we have evidence to show us that there's something here that looks just like what people said, kidnapped them, abducted them, brought them in craft, and then let them go again. These creatures that we're seeing in the videos look just like that. So, they're here. and they're up to no good. Obviously, it's secretive. Why do you? What's with the big secret? They obviously don't trust us, and I don't see why they would. I mean, look at the way we're like barbarians for the most part. Some of us are, a lot of us, right? Obviously, you see it all the time. There's violence all over the place, and all, whether it's war or just crime or whatever, right? And we act like barbarians. Do they act like that? On their home world, or do they have or is everything under? Do they have law and order where they come from? Did their race finally wake up and realize, hey, we're not going to get anywhere killing each other. We need to work together. I mean, did that happen for them at some point? Or maybe it didn't happen. Who knows? That's all. We only speculate about things like that. But the bottom line is they're here and they don't want to talk to us openly, obviously, right? And they're afraid of us, obviously, as we've seen. We've seen that they're most certainly afraid of us. I see why wouldn't they be, right? And we're afraid of them because we don't know what they're doing. It's not a good situation, really, when you think about it. From where I sit, it doesn't seem like it's a very good situation. It looks like it could be up to no good. That's what it looks like to me. And who knows? Who knows what the end game here is? But there is an end game. There is an end game. We just don't. I don't know if we're going to see it in our lifetimes. We might see it tomorrow. We might not see it for another 10,000 years. I don't know. But there's something here, and they're up to something, right? What is it? What do you think it is? I think that they're here to take over. I think that their planet is probably diminished, and they need a new place to go. And they picked this planet a long time ago, and they're doing this slow takeover. That's what I believe is probably the most likely reason for at least that one set of aliens, the one that people seem to see and encounter more than any other ones. Right? The Greys, the reptilians, and the insectoids. That's what I think. Anyway, I just want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.